Yeah, I mean, and then, well, we're going to launch this hoe right away because there's really no reason not to. It's timely. It's timely.
I'm ready.
You're ready? Everybody's ready. Welcome,
Yeah.
everybody. It's a special Practical Shooting After Dark, as close as we get to a live episode. Tonight's episode should be I think it's going to be a trash fire of epic proportions. We've got 5 guys on here tonight to talk about what's going on in the USPSA. On deck tonight, Mr. Kim.
Hello.
Mr. Rizzy.
How you doing?
Mr. Turner's back.
Hey, guys.
You don't see him that much. And Area 3 Director, Mr. Hopkins.
Hi, how are you?
Guys, so I think we all have a lot to say. The bylaw changes have dropped finally, like what they're going to be. All of my Instagram shenanigans and the video, like it's been months of waiting for this, I'd say, since Foley got the axe and things started happening in the USPSA. Now we finally get to see what the board's.
If you ask some board members, it's been like a decade in process, right?
Yeah, Bruce One's been talking about this for the last 37 years, I think. I don't remember what he said. He's been talking about it for a while. But so, I think we should just we're gonna go round the horn, and like a lot of us have things to sound off on. And we'll just go topic by topic, go right around, and until we run out of things to say. Then we've got a couple questions that are related, and we'll get to it. So Hopkins, you're on the board.
Yeah.
We see the bylaw changes now.
Yep.
I think I'll tag him into this, or I'll put a link to him in this YouTube video.
Yeah, it sounds good.
If I can figure out how to do that. What do you got to say, Matt?
Well, first thing I got to say is the board is asking for your comments. Now, some board members have publicly stated that it doesn't matter what you say, so go ahead and send it in. They're going to come up with either number of people in their area or number of members in this organization and say that, why should we listen to these X number of people that is a vocal minority? But I'm still going to tell you to please send in your comments. We need to see them, good or bad, for or against changes or anything like that. So even though there are board members that have physically said in board meetings, in person, in leaked documents that came out, that it doesn't matter what you say, they're not going to listen to you because they're going to come up with other stuff, but you still got to send in your comments.
Yeah, sending in your comments is helpful because you can say you did later on. It does affect them emotionally. Like a couple of them are losing sleep over this, which I find funny. So that's why I haven't slowed down the beat down I've been laying down on Instagram. That has not slowed down just because, frankly. Yes, Matt. Now, one refrain we hear from board members, I mean, I've heard it and I know they say this stuff. I know they do. Is like they value in-person comments more than
there's
emails.
One actually that specifically said he puts more weight on in-person comments than an email that's sent in. And releasing these in the winter, I don't know how many in-person comments you're going to get. So I don't know how you would quantify that feedback either.
Well, I'd say generally speaking, the in-person comments of this nature, it's going to be the least truthful. I would think. The anonymous online comments are likely to be the most truthful.
Well, there's the element too of what you seek, you're probably going to find. You know what I mean?
Yes. I do remember Leighton going on Go Fast Don't Suck and saying, hey, everyone supports what we're doing. Like, I'm talking to people, they support what we're doing. I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing specifically? He's like, no, we can't talk about that yet. And it's like, wait a second. So if you're telling people half the story in person and then they say they support you, that doesn't really mean a whole lot, does it?
You'll find what you want to find in person, I believe. You can't control who sends an email.
It's also a way for you not to be able to quantify your facts. You can say you talk to X number of people. There's no way to actually quantify that. But if we get comments in or emails in, you can 100% quantify that. And let me tell you also, all the comments that come in are going, or at least able to be accessed by every area director. So every area director can see the comments that are coming in. So there's no way, unless you specifically email your own area director and put no one else on it, that they can say they did not see those comments.
Okay. Matt, do you recommend? I know that there's like the official comments portal for members to send comments, and you said that when I send mine in as Area 6 guy, you'll still be able to read it. But if people are also going to send an email, do you, as an area director, is it better like to copy in other area directors, or would you prefer to
yes,
just
it is 100% better to copy all area directors in on it.
Yeah.
President also.
All right, good. Let's go to the next guy. Mr. Kim. I know you've got stuff you want to talk about. Like,
Absolutely.
Just pick something interesting there.
Yeah, so the draft, I got an email from USPSA official. I think every member got this email saying, hey, this is a draft for the upcoming change in the bylaws. And also, by the way, that's where you can find comments link to this bylaw change. And I looked at the original bylaws and the draft bylaws side by side. And in my opinion, the most important thing from the bylaw, just like any country's laws, the purpose, objects and purpose, I think that's definitely important. Because basically, this is stating the purpose of our organization, USPSA. The original purpose, there's 6 points. I won't read every word by word, but let me read the keywords in the beginnings. So number 1, to promote. Number 2, to educate. 3, to train. To set forth rules. To assist in safety and fairly holding practical shooting. And 2, set forth a system to train, develop athletes for the competition. So as I read these key notes, yeah, promote, educate, train, set forth rules, assist, and all these things are for members. So the purpose of this organization is for members. And by definition, nonprofit organization is an entity that's organized for public benefit or social benefit. And to me, it's perfectly fit nonprofit organization purpose. And it's definitely member focused. Now let's take a look at the draft one for new bylaw purposes. Now what they're trying to do over here in terms of USPSA, the purpose of USPSA is now, first one, to sponsor, to establish a system, to establish a program, to raise money, to engage in such activities as are necessary. All of these key terms are for the corporation. What they're trying to establish, what they're trying to do, the purpose of the organization is now to have power for the organization, the corporation, like to make money, to engage activities as necessary, meaning if it's for the corporation purpose, then we will do. To sponsor, who's sponsoring here? The corporation is. So all of these is to gain power for the corporation rather than to serve the members. This is not a member-focused purposes. Now it's a corporation-focused purposes. Now, as we are looking here, the purpose of the organization is changing. What this means is this organization is going to be completely different in terms of like the purpose is different. Basically, we're comparing it to kind of like South Korea and North Korea. I grew up in the only divided country in the world. Fortunately, I was in the South Korea. And when we look at South Korea and North Korea, the purpose of the two countries are very different. South Korea is member focused, I should say citizen focused, the people focused, giving people the freedom, giving people the power. However, the other side of Korea is totally the opposite, is to benefit the body of government. It could be, of course, it could be a person because they have a dictator. So as a government or as the purpose of each two country has different system where South Korea is from citizen to the government, the other way around, bottom to high in the pyramid. But in North Korea's case, the dictator or person or the government to the bottom in terms of benefit levels. So as you can see, after 50 years of different purpose of these two countries, we can clearly see the country that values the member, or I should say citizens, and giving citizens freedom and power is obviously a good way we can think of it. Yes, this draft change is not changing a rule set or small little bit of detail. It is changing the purpose of the organization and more.
Yeah. Any comments on that from the peanut gallery? Because that seemed like a fairly cogent point.
I think you file this under people will always tell you the truth, even if they don't mean to.
I would, my thinking is they're just changing it to reflect how they've been operating. They're not like changing it to like, hey, we're going to operate in this way. They're just changing it.
I will have one comment on this. Now, the reason for this change that I've been told, now I've not seen anything official from the legal counsel or anything like that. So this is just what we've been told, that this section has to mirror the articles of incorporation for the corporation when it was incorporated. So I don't know at what point in the past that this got changed away from that, or if it never did, or if the guidance we're being given is not 100% correct. I don't know. We've had this legal
Are you
counsel,
saying you suspect USPSA's lawyers not very good?
we've had this legal counsel for a long time. How is this the first time they have noticed that this is an error? That's my question.
Well, because they changed the bylaws on the regular, right?
They've literally changed bylaws at least every year for the last decade. At least every year.
Okay.
So I don't know how this is the first time this has been found. But that's what we're being told as a board.
Interesting.
I've not seen any guidance from them, like specifically from the legal counsel to the board.
Great. All right, Frank, tell me something interesting.
As the president of a nonprofit, that doesn't make any sense to me. I can tell you that. That's number one. So Friday night, on my way to work, I get this email from USPSA that says, "Hey, these are the proposed bylaw changes." I was like, "All right, cool. I could actually have time to read this." So I open up the document, and I get a bunch of 18 pages that say draft on it. I'm like, okay, great. Where are the changes? What exactly did you change in these bylaws? And I don't see any document that says what changes are they looking to make? What were the old language? What's the new language? None of that. So to me, first and foremost, it looks like they're trying to hide something. That's number one. I mean,
well, don't they normally send out the change log with this stuff?
Normally, when they change the rules, every time they've done it, I get a change log, and that's what I was expecting to see.
Frank, that's weird.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. I had to go to social media to get this document with a side-by-side comparison and the rules highlighted that were changed, the original rules and the new rules. So, and as I'm going through it, I'm reading through this document. There's quite a few things that stand out to me. I made a whole bunch of notes over here. Let's see. First and foremost, in section 5.
Just pick one thing. We're going to keep going around the horn until we run out of stuff.
I'll just pick one. The first thing that I got. So the first thing that I noticed I actually, believe it or not, I think is a good change. They got rid of the section on proxy. So previously, it looks like a director was able to have a proxy if they couldn't make it to an in-person meeting. Someone else was able to vote as their proxy, which to me that's not a good thing. You know, if you want to make an informed decision about what's going on, you need to be at the meeting in person. No one should be able to vote as your proxy. So that's pretty much the only good thing that I took out of this is they got rid of the proxy voting. But then in the next section, on the section 510 under the board meetings, they totally eliminated section 1 or 2 of that, which says that current USPSA members are allowed to attend the in-person board meeting as observers. So, you know, I go to the changes and I'm looking like, where the hell's that section? There is none. The board of director meeting shall be closed to individuals and organizations other than those authorized by the board of director policy, period. So I don't know. I have a major issue with that. Why can't the members come there and observe the board meeting?
I think they should be able to observe any meeting, not just in person.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually lobbied to take out the in-person text on the original bylaws that are out now and not replace it with anything. That was overruled, though.
Now, Matt, I have heard, like, again, unintentionally, I think Bill Duda's been doing the Lord's work with Go Fast, Don't Suck, interviewing these people, because you just kind of hear what they say, and it's like I don't remember who it was, but one of the board members was on there saying like that you'd lose the level of candor if they live stream the meetings or something like that. And I honestly think this really is a generational thing. Like for us,
100%.
like we're used to it. Like we put out like podcast every week, say crazy shit, say whatever comes to your mind. No one really cares. You know, it's just like the idea that you can't, like, you can have if you live stream the board meeting and guys just batting ideas around, like they'd get in trouble for that somehow. Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's definitely been talked about. I don't know. I think there's at least one board member that likes to gossip on there and talk about individuals and their status and stuff like that. So I think that would actually affect that. But at that point, should you actually be doing that as a board member?
But gossiping in board meetings?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably not. All right. Let's keep it moving. Tyler, tell me something interesting.
The big thing that's missing in this draft set of bylaws is a mechanism or a provision by which we can recall area directors.
I'm just saying that because you live in Area 6, man.
Well, it could benefit anyone in any area. If this is really about checks and balances, that seems to me an important one, that the constituents of a particular area, if an area director is not representing them the way they see fit, or if there's some impropriety, I think who better than his or her constituents to make that determination. As it stands, there is no way for
that's wrong. There is a way to get rid of board members that aren't performing. The board removes them. That's theirs.
You're right. You didn't let me finish. Said there's no way for an individual member to do that, to remove a board member, whether they don't like the way they're ruling at board meetings, or if they're not present, or whatever else. Shouldn't it be more localized control, that if the constituents themselves see problems, wouldn't they be best equipped, number one, and wouldn't they be best served by being able to make that determination, as opposed to area directors from areas that are not beholden to those constituents? So I would encourage all of you who will send comments and emails, please include that in there. They need to include a provision by which we can petition for recall. They need to put in a mechanism by which that would happen. I would strongly encourage that.
Yeah,
I think you got a better chance of Congress imposing term limits on themselves than that happening, to be quite honest.
They don't have term limits in there either, buddy.
Right.
Yep.
And not with the current board of directors anyway.
Well, if it's about checks and balances, if we are to take them at their word, that that's what fundamentally this is about, that seems to me to be an important one that we are missing.
Well, kind of related to what you're talking about, Tyler, they have new provisions for what happens when an area director vacates their seat.
They do?
They do. So instead of, well, the current process now, Matt, is that there's an election, like a special election, if there's enough time left in the term. Isn't that the system now?
Yeah, well, that's still in there.
But now the board will pick.
Yeah, the current way it's being done, the president appoints an interim area director. And the president just has that power to do that in the current bylaws. The new way that the new bylaws, draft bylaws, say that an interim area director first is to come from the section coordinators of the area. And then the other board area directors that are on the board would vote to put that person in place as interim.
Why would they restrict it to the section? Because I'm thinking about, there's such a difference in like who's the SCs, like who those people are versus what an area director does. It's not even the same thing.
Well,
You know what I
here's
mean?
a good question.
Nothing
How
to
many
do with it.
current board members were section coordinators before they were board members?
I have no idea. Any? Was it any of them?
I think it's like maybe 2. I know Chad was Oklahoma section coordinator before he was area director.
Okay.
Layden was not. I was not. Bruce, Gary, he's been on the board for so long. I don't know. We can go back and get that information. I don't know about 5, 6, 7, or 8, so I'm not sure. So just Chad for sure.
I believe Ted Murphy mentioned on a podcast that he was previously a section coordinator.
Yeah, it's just, it seems weird to handcuff it to that, but it makes more sense if you think that the next president of USPSA is not going to be part of the BOC cabal, then it would make more sense why they would make that change.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Well,
it only makes sense to me viewed it through that lens. If I look at it like that, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So
I mean, like, hey, they're just doing what Bruce 1 laid out that they were going to do. So
yeah, no, it's 100%. I guess I'll go next real quick while we're there.
Yeah.
I got something that'll tee off onto this.
Good.
I don't know why they're wanting to appoint a section coordinator, and if it does come to none of the section coordinators want it, it'll go to a nominating committee. So a nominating committee of the board of directors there, the area there, they nominate someone to take that office. And then there would be an interim area director. They would serve until this special election, or if there's less than 2 years, they would be it for the rest of the term. I think something that I tried to get them to put in, but they did not put in there, was required timing of starting of a special election.
No, they're not going to put that in there.
Nope. I tried to get them to put that special elections will happen within, I think I said 30 days of a person vacating office. There's mechanisms in place where USPSA can turn in all, like, they can get the they could do it right away. It's super fast.
Okay, so
they have an election service already on retainer they pay for.
When did Foley leave office?
August 24th.
And when will the next president take office, do you reckon?
Do you want my honest answer right now?
No, I want you to fucking lie.
Well, it'll probably be October of next year before the new president is in office, which is neither timely or anything like that.
And you're assuming that there'd be a runoff.
Yeah, there's 100% going to be a run. Well, unless they crater it even more so than they have right now, and then no one wants to run for president, there will be a runoff, 100%.
Okay. Interesting. And if no runoff, the next president will take office in what, like August?
Yeah, August.
It's only a year. That's no big deal.
It's very timely, right?
All right, let's keep it moving. Wanzik, what are you looking at? Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at certain things that changed or removed or added. So definitely, like, the purpose I was talking about was shortened. So it was originally 6 and now it's 5. And then another section that was big change was Article 7, for sure. And then one thing that was...
Hold on. What are we talking about? Article 7 that changed that you want to discuss?
So a lot of the things about the president and the board of director things has changed a lot.
So the president, what are you seeing?
So for example, like the president, I think it was this one conversation I had with my area director a while ago was, my question was like, what's the intention behind of all these changes? And then definitely one of the reason was due to, you know, previous president for sure, and which I agree, it's a fine reason. But now the bylaws about the president is changing a lot. And then there's more of board of director involved in it. And one thing that was really spotting me was the salary for the position shall be determined and made public. Wait, this is not the section. Determined by board of the directors.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know if there's actual like statement from board of directors how much it's gonna be, but I heard like from podcasts and stuff saying the money salary for the president being extremely low compared to before.
Well,
Not even
in fairness, the president's going to have a lot less responsibilities in some respect.
that too.
So the president, not the big change is the president's not going to have any employees reporting them directly, Matt.
That's correct. Yeah.
But then a lot of mandatory travel.
Yep.
What actual powers will the president have under the new bylaws?
They'll have like single signing authority for checks and stuff like that, but that's at the authority of the board, which the board has always had. The board always had the authority to do all this.
But yeah, I get it. But what is the president going to do all day? Like, what's his actual job? What does he do?
Under the
because like right now the president.
new.
Well, like currently the president runs the organization on some level, right?
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
The director employees report to the president currently. Manages the day-to-day office stuff, I think.
So if there was an employee that's a problem, what can the president do about that?
President can fire him.
And
yeah.
So the big change here is like right now, like let's say there's a USPSA employee, like say Jake, or just give examples. Like there's public facing USPSA employees.
Fred. There's Fred.
Yeah, that people deal with. Yeah, Fred, whatever. Yeah. Or Tom, whoever the hell. Yeah. If that employee is misbehaving, not performing, the president can address that situation. So the members have some control in a somewhat direct sense over the organization, over the employees. So if they're like, hey, this is a problem, that's a problem, whatever, they can put somebody in office to solve that problem.
Yeah, currently they can under the current bylaws.
Yeah, right. And now, like under this change, like this is what I think people don't really get. Like when the board, under these proposed bylaws, what the board's doing is they're taking away the members' ability to smoke USPSA employees that are misbehaving. And then all I would say as far as a comment like this, if you interact with USPSA employees, be it, Tom or Jerry or Jake or Troy, as an example, just think do you feel like this person feels the need to be nice to you or polite to you? Do you think this person feels like that they work for you? Or do you feel like
who you are?
Yeah, it does kind of depend on who you are, but it's like I don't think that situation's going to get better when that person knows they're kind of they're protected. I think that's driving a lot of this, and that's included in the Bruce 1 memo, of course, that USPSA employees asked for this change.
The irony of this as well is this is not new. We formerly had an executive director, and the last executive director had a laundry list of problems.
All right, I was going to bring this up. I'm so glad you did. So now they're changing the title to managing director, but but it's going back to the executive director thing, and I think people have short memories.
They do.
On the back end of that chick Kim. So she was a USPSA employee for a long time. She was made executive director. Probably she was promoted above her head, above her capabilities, because she was like a secretary or some shit for a long time. She filled some shoes that she couldn't fill. There was some personal problems. There was weird sex stuff going on between her and other USPSA people. So when the time came, they had to get rid of her. It was lawsuit time. It was a big problem. It was a big problem. And they were eager to shift to be like, we can't really just cleanly fire this person because they're an employee. It'd be way better to be able to sack this person by voting. So they were eager to shift away from that system. All right. And also, again, on Go Fast, Don't Suck, the Area 7 director currently, Lee Cabana, he went on there and he explained exactly this. He said, it was before my time on the board, but They got a new president coming in, Foley, who had business experience, which I laughed about because Foley is a box packer for Shooters Connection. And I imagine like what would happen if one of the pro shop box packers became president of USPSA. I wouldn't be like, oh, they've got business experience. I'd be like, no, that motherfucker like packs boxes and ships them out. Like they don't know whatever. Like I guess to a USPSA board member, that's business experience. But yeah, I mean, to your point, Tyler, yes, they have very short memories about this.
That's the irony here, though. We started with an executive director. She was a problem. She was impossible to get rid of. So what did they do? They reorganized, they restructured the organization in order to create an executive president who ran the organization. They canned her. Foley was the guy, and now we're back. It's an executive director all over again. Who's to say, the buck stops with the board. It always has. You look at the old bylaws, not the draft, the ones we're currently operating under. They have always had the responsibility and the mandate to drive the agenda of the organization, to promote the sport. They're the real power brokers, at least according to the bylaws. Then and now. It's who's going to trust that the executive director is going to be the right pick? Does anyone have any confidence in them to
Who's to say they can't hire Foley as managing director?
I think that's highly unlikely, but they could. Tyler, I want to read a comment. I want to read a comment that was made on my Facebook page. In response to these bylaw changes, and this guy says, these changes are right and proper, fixing the Foley power grab. What's your reaction? Tyler, you're shaking your head no, like that's an idiotic comment.
Foley abstained on all these votes. There's only 3 people on the current board that voted for this: Bruce Wells, Bruce Gary, and Sherwin Greenfield. They voted to change that to the.
But it wasn't power a grab. They handed it to him.
Yeah, they handed it to him. Yep.
They
changed the bylaws.
It wasn't a power grab at all. I mean, there is. I should tell you, this comment, which is it's an ignorant comment, frankly, but it did get a like. It got a like from Leighton Uthousand.
But you know what? Foley represents a failure of the board. They voted in lockstep with him
100%.
Since 2016. Only when he became a liability to them politically did they feel they needed to do anything.
It was a mutually beneficial arrangement for a long time. They were all fundamentally rowing in the same direction the whole time. Foley took all the heat. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have asked me, hey, Ben, now that Foley's gone, are you going to like change your involvement with USPSA? And it's just like, people don't get it. Like Foley was just the front man. That's all he was. It's been the board the whole time.
So they can't have it both ways. They can't both have followed him in lockstep and rubber stamped everything he pushed for both of his terms up until his termination, and scapegoat him after the fact.
Well, I mean, they can, because there's people have short memories.
But that the Foley administration is a failure of the board. And what the board is telling us is that, trust us, we will pick the person to set USPSA on the right track.
Well, the reason they're saying trust us is because they explicitly don't trust you. They don't.
Sure.
I mean, and fundamentally, I did want to talk about this, so I'm going to get into it. These guys don't understand like the core promise of like what like an organization like this should be run, like the democratic part of it, the vote on the direction you want it to go. Like the idea that everybody has in their head is like, oh, okay, Foley's out, there's going to be a new president, we're going to vote for who that person is, they're going to maybe want to do things differently. It's not going to be a one-man show, but they're going to have a political mandate from the membership. They'll get in there, they're going to cut deals with the board, they're going to push it the direction they want it to go. It's like, people don't get it. Like, that's not on the menu. The current board is not cool with that. The idea that they're going to let you elect whoever you want with like whatever viewpoint you choose, and they're going to put that person in there and work with them and let them kind of push it a little bit the direction that the members want it to go, it's not going to happen. That's not who these guys are. That's not the way it's run, fundamentally.
Yeah, I think they've made it blatantly obvious that they don't trust us by the changes that they're making to the role of the president.
Right, and that was before that was before
right.
Bruce One wrote it down, and then they're like, yeah, that's a good idea. Send it to the lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
they don't trust us and who we're going to vote in as president. That's
the
bottom line.
and they'll say so out loud.
Yes, absolutely.
Matt, are you having any direct contact with USPSA's lawyer or lawyers, or is that being filtered through either a committee or an individual board member?
It's all filtered through one individual.
The president?
As I suspected.
Okay. Man. All right, Frank.
Yeah, I find that's an issue. The lawyers should be speaking at the board meeting, not for nothing. Whenever we have an issue in my club and we need to get a lawyer involved, the lawyer is actually at the board meeting. We have him come down, and everyone gets to ask him questions and get his opinion. The fact that the lawyer is only going through one person, that's a serious problem.
Yeah, it makes it when you're like, hey, the lawyer says we have to change these things. Then it's like, well, you never really know if that's the case or not. Exactly. Because I have to be honest with you, Matt, any of these board members, based on what I've seen the last few months, none of these guys know how to tell the truth. I'm just going to say that.
I'm sure they'll say that about me too. So
I know, but they've been caught out lying a bunch. I mean, a lot by me, but like other people too. I mean, I've gotten so many things. Hey, I talked to my AD about this, and they lied to me. It's like, yep, like that's how it's going. Like,
yep,
that's the way it's been going. All right, Frank, let's get the next topic. Keep it moving.
So I got a few things here that I also noticed. One was in order to run for area director, you now have to be a life member of USPSA in order to even run to get on the ballot. Where previously, in order to serve as an area director, you had to become a life member.
What's the point of that, Matt? What is the reason?
So here's my take on the conversations of that was you need to have some skin in the game beforehand.
Well, what's the difference if you're a life member or just an annual or 3-year or whatever?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of
no, really. It was from my recall of that. We talked about that really early on in this, and it was kind of figured out that everybody was in agreement that life should be you should be alive before you even request it.
Okay.
So hold on. Okay, so I'm going to go into something on this also. There's a change in the requirements to be an area director that you have to be a certified range officer now.
Yeah, I said they were. I've talked about this on the pod. Yeah, I don't think you were on, but it's just like I said, like you got like the RO thing doesn't mean shit. Like and it's so perfect. Like you ran against a guy, like you ran an election against Don Rush, who's a professional range officer, been doing nationals for like 20 years, right?
I don't know how long, but yeah.
Yeah, you're not a certified range officer, and you crushed him. Like it's like the
so here's the excuse they're using. They're like, how can someone that's not a range officer vote on changing the rules?
I don't know. How'd you pull it off, Matt? How'd you do it?
I read the rule book. So I know the rules. Being certified doesn't mean you don't know the rules.
Yeah, being certified doesn't mean that you do know the rules.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've actually found that to be the case as well.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Oh, man. Fantastic.
And the other thing I have real quick, question for Matt. Why are we changing it to 3/4 of the board approval in order to change the bylaws instead of 2/3?
Oh, this is
once you climb on the roof, you pull up the ladder behind you to make sure nobody else comes.
Yeah. They want to make it here, my opinion of what I've heard in the meetings, they want to make it where you can't get a couple people on the board and then have them change the organization like the current board is doing. So they want to lock in all their changes for the future.
Yep.
And this is guys who, again, have been changing the bylaws on the regular.
Every single year.
All the time.
Every single year.
Not as extensively as this, but whenever they felt like it. Jesus. Mr. Kim, tell me
Yes.
something good, man.
Still the president stuff. If anybody look at the president, the original one, there was only 5 bullet points, 5 sections, and now I'm seeing 9. And I was getting curious where the pattern is going. So basically, the purpose, like one of the most important sector of USPSA, like the purpose is now getting less, but more reinforcement for people who can potentially have power is getting a lot more bullet points now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just curious. I mean, this is just all hypothetical, but I was researching how many words on the document that says board of director. Oh, it was pretty interesting. Just 100 words from now, it's 120 words in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going through a couple of those. Basically, 20 words of board of director was added. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why how I found now the salary is set by the board of directors in terms of president. And I'm seeing of course, the area director has been a full elected position by the members. But now we have a lot more regulation to be able to be an area director. So the options are going to be more narrow for us members to vote area director, and also president as well. So the pattern for me has been pretty clear to get the power out of the members and put the power into the corporation.
Hey,
Again,
you're not a shareholder, buddy.
Exactly. I mean, I truly believe in order to be able to be a great country or organization, the member serving organization or the country won't work. The government serving the people will work, because government serving the people and people will make good work. And like South Korea, the government serves people and the government became really good. Great country. Now, in order to be able to have our organization, USPSA, great, I really think the power, or I should say member focus, has to happen. The government or the organization serving the member, not the other way around. And as I am seeing over here, a lot of the members' power, which is, yeah, we have better elections before, and actually appointing people that people vote for, now is going to be very narrow and narrow and narrow, and members are losing power. There we go.
Yeah. All right. Tyler, you got something else?
Yeah, well, I want to tag on to Hwansuk's point there. It seems like, there's a growth in the bureaucracy of our organization. That's typically not a good thing. The more bureaucratic, the less democratic. Now, of course, they will say, and proponents will say, that these are to modernize, standardize, bring into line fiscal responsibility, fiduciary duty, all the buzzwords they will use to defend.
Oh, God,
but
yes. I'm going to jump off this. This is good.
I do sense there's a huge bureaucratic growth here, and I'd like to reference the Iron Law of Bureaucracy, which states essentially there are 2 kinds of people. There are people in an organization devoted to the ideals and the purposes of the organization itself. The second set of people are the people devoted to either growing or sustaining the power of the organization, the bureaucracy within the organization. And it's pretty clear to me, and it says that the corollary is that eventually the second set of people will always push out and outnumber the first set of people, and it seems to be at play here.
That's clearly happened. Like I think they'd completely pushed out everybody, and then they got one dude on the board who's thinks differently. But this does remind me of you always hear the refrains like they should run it like a business. You do hear that a lot. And your area director, Bruce Six, as we call him, he, as many of the other ones did, he went on Go Fast, Don't Suck, and I got to listen to him, and it was very telling. He got an open-ended question. It's like, and the reason I'm bringing this up is, number 1, to make fun of him, number 2, because he's going to run for president, and number 3, because he's already on the board. So it's like it kind of hits on all these levels. He got an open-ended question like, hey, what do you want to do in the next 5 or 10 years for USPSA? You know, where do you want to take it? He's like, well, I believe the organization needs to be financially secure. I believe the organization is financially secure, but could it be better? I believe so. So basically, it's like we need to make sure we have enough money, which we have, but we just want to have more money. That's where he's at. Like, and I have to tell people, like the run it like a business crowd, like as far as a business is concerned, like if I'm just looking at USPSA as a way to make money, it's not a challenge. You'd have to be totally inept to screw this up. Like from a business perspective, they get $3 every time you go shoot a match with a classifier in it. You're paying member dues. It's not a big ask of you, so people don't mind paying the money. But on their end, it accumulates quickly. It doesn't cost that much money to administer classifiers, put out front sight. Like there's from a business perspective, there's basically no way to fuck this up. Even if the organization had some catastrophe happen and they got sued into oblivion, you would just set up another organization and then reaffiliate all the clubs with that one. It would be not a problem. Like on a business perspective, from just a dollars and cents point of view, there's no issue here. There's nothing to talk about. And if that's Bruce Six's vision, like that's why I call these people the midwit cabal. Like they don't.
Yes.
Like
yes.
It's idiotic. There's no business challenge here. Like you guys are in a position where you don't need to worry about money. Most of the money you get is just like you can spend it whatever you want. Or you could do like crazy stuff, like hey, we're going to commission like a little TV show or to promote USP, whatever they want to do. They could do all sorts of stuff. I mean, there's no business challenge here at all. And anybody telling you that is telling you they don't understand business. That's really what they're saying.
Well, yeah, that you are preaching right now. No, the run it like a business crowd. That is the great midwit creed. Like if it's a politician, well, anyone who promises to run it like a business, well, they got my vote. That's why, like the businessman in politics is so popular.
It's like yeah, because I fucking love Facebook. And I love the airlines. I love all these businesses. Like, they're great the way they treat me. Run it like that.
In fairness, I understand. I think what they mean, like on an intuitive level, is hey, let's be responsible financially and let's like make sure we keep the lights on. I think that's what they intuitively think.
Yeah.
But that's not what you're saying when you're saying run it like a business, because it is fundamentally different. Running a business versus running a volunteer-driven sport, a member-driven sport. It is fundamentally different.
Right.
We are not customers.
A nonprofit is not the same thing as a business.
Right. Yeah, that's true. But what I'm saying is these guys have so much money coming in that they can hire the most mediocre people and pay them 6-figure salaries, and it's not a problem financially. And that tells you all you need to know, frankly. Like there's not a serious danger fiscally to the organization. Unless they mismanage it. Like honestly, it's not real. Like it's
silly. Not. I mean,
shit is silly.
What's going to happen if they overspend at a nationals one year?
they have plenty of cash. It doesn't matter.
They pull money out of the investment accounts and put it in the checking account.
Oh, so we wouldn't go bankrupt if everyone had a meal at nationals.
Nope. Like there's Jesus. All right. Let's keep it moving. Matt, do you have something else to add?
Well, I just want to address the fact that there's some people going around saying that these bylaws are the same bylaws from when it was 1,000 members run out of someone's garage.
It wasn't. You mean Sherwin's saying that?
Yeah, Sherwin said that. I've heard
he's a pathological liar, is what I should say.
I'm just going to address it. These bylaws are not the same bylaws from then. They literally changed the bylaws last year and the year before that. In 2016, they changed it from an ED to a president. So these are not 20-year-old, 30-year-old bylaws. They've literally changed them every year since then. So why are they changing them now is a question I would ask.
We already know that. They're doing it to hose you. Like they wrote it down.
Yeah.
They wrote it down. Like,
Yeah.
And then you might recall, Matt, I made a video for YouTube and I loudly accused them of a conspiracy. A bunch of them came out and denied it. Then some proof came out. Then they didn't have a whole lot to say. Then Bruce
they're not
One kind
denying
of
it
shut up.
anymore, are they?
No, they're not. They're not. They didn't have a lot to say after that. That was like Bruce wrote like that 5-page, thesis paper about how wrong I was and horrible I was, only to be blown out by his own words. It was poetic, really. It was funny. All right, Mr. Kim, let's keep it moving.
So, yeah, one funny thing I'm starting to think is, so first of all, like we kind of talked about the money side and all, but the thing is, the original purpose and original organization, basically, yes, the money is used as a tool to fulfill the purposes. So meaning they use the money, or they need money, I guess, to promote, to educate, to train, all the purposes they listed. But now the money was a tool. Money wasn't the focus over here. The purpose doesn't say really anything about money itself. Now, the new Article 3, the purpose in the draft, like the fourth one, it says to raise money to enable the corporation to pay. Now, like this is basically changing the focus of the organization from serving the people, for serving the member with the money that they make, to they want to make money. And then the fifth part of the purpose, the fifth bullet point, it says to engage in such activities as are necessary. As necessary. If we think about that, means if there's no money in it, it's not necessary, because the purpose of the organization is becoming money rather than the members. So the organization is trying to like focus on the tool rather than actual core purpose, which is members, to educate, to provide service.
Yeah.
Yes, this sounds pretty different than American society system or the democracy. Whereas the government needs money to serve people, but now if it's reversed, yes,
Yeah.
I can smell North Korea here.
Yeah, let's keep
They've
it
made it
moving.
blatantly obvious that the members really don't matter. Remember, we're members, not shareholders. So what we say really doesn't matter much.
And if you're critical, then you're a howler monkey. And then
Exactly.
you, by definition, don't matter.
Right.
If you're giving them a handy, then you're cool. But if you have a criticism, you become a howler monkey, and then they just pretend you don't exist. It's great. Frank, you had other stuff to say?
I think we covered most of it, but I do want to say that I think the comment section that they put out, to me, it seems pointless. I'm not even going to bother sending any comments in because it's going to be irrelevant. They're going to do what they want to do. I think they're going to vote on this. I think the vote's going to be probably 8-1, in my opinion.
That'd be a pretty good guess.
I think that'd be a pretty good guess. So, no matter what we put out there, no matter how much we criticize these bylaws and these changes, we're wasting our time.
No,
Really.
I'm telling you, like Lee Cabana's losing sleep right now. Like he's getting the shit kicked out of him by you. Like Andy knows you're running get like, yeah, these guys are losing sleep over this. It's annoying them. It's not pointless. Yeah, they're going to do what they're going to do, but it's good to have the conversation with them.
I think they need to publish the comments.
Yeah.
I think they should publish the comments.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they say they're going to have a 30-day waiting period before they vote?
Yeah, we're in that right now.
And I one guy from Area 2 told me he asked them to vote, and this I thought was interesting. They should vote on the changing the required threshold for bylaw changes. They should vote on that separately first, and then vote on the other stuff.
Oh yeah, I think it'll be I think we should do a piecemeal, because there's some changes like 16.2 change that
we
are
didn't talk
really
about.
really good.
Was that the equipment
Yes.
one?
That's the equipment one, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I did want to talk about that because that's actually, you're right. That is, I think the flashlight thing they took so much shit for.
They did.
They've been
They
they were
still-
changing the rules so fast, so furiously that like it had to get to the point of comedy for them to get lit up and actually change things. And this is actually, it's a good way to shit on Leighton again, because like when he went on Go Fast Don't Suck, he got asked like, hey, what about the flashlight bylaw change or the flashlight rule change? Was that cool? And he's like, no, that was fine. No problem. He was just like, no problem. Nothing wrong with it. The rule itself, the timing of the change, the nature of the change, all of it. Good to go. That's what Leighton said. It was like, he didn't realize like, hey, dum-dum, you're changing the bylaws to fix that. Like this should be a good time for you to say, yeah, that wasn't great. We're changing that in the bylaws. But he couldn't think on his feet to understand what he was actually doing, which again, it makes me laugh.
Should we go over it or let people read it?
No, go over it. Talk about it.
So basically, it used to say where they could change rules as long as it made stuff more available to be used within the divisions.
Okay. But
so they couldn't be more
they
restricted.
Put in that bylaw change went in what, like 4 years ago?
Right after Foley. So probably
Right.
2016, 2017.
That was when they adopted the strategy of like, hey, we're going to get more members to make more money. And by doing it, we're going to loosen equipment rules and we're going to change the bylaws so that as long as we're loosening the equipment rules, we can do it as and when we feel like. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
It was all part of a strategy. That wasn't something that was there from like 1980. Like
no, that was within the recent era.
Yes, that was when they adopted this strategy to make more money.
Yeah,
it was also immediately after Hammergate.
Yeah, someone got.
I mean, immediately
for
after.
an illegal hammer.
Right, and then
complained about
like,
it.
Troy said this rule's unenforceable. Like so, Troy.
Yeah.
So a guy got caught with an illegal hammer. The RO took enforcement action, and you're saying that the rule's not actually enforceable? Like it seems self-defeating what you're saying.
That was the hilarity back then that by enforcement of the rule, we demonstrate the rule is unenforceable. Yay for logic. Yay.
And then they had to change the bylaws to fix that.
Right. Logic is not one of Troy's strong. I'm not sure what his strong suits are. Maybe belligerence and hard-headedness.
So they took out the loosen restriction. They took out the 2-year restriction. Now there's a timeline that August 1st, Rules Committee has to present the rule changes to the Board of Directors. And then the Board of Directors will talk and consult with people and say, should we even put this to the membership? Does this make sense?
And then the members have a 90-day
90-day comment period. Yep.
So the howler monkeys can howl for 90 days.
Yep. And then the board will have 1 month to vote on it. And then all rule changes will go into effect on January 31st. And there will be no more changes until the next cycle of that the next year. Except except for federal laws.
I have to say that's a big improvement. And it is, like I said, it is comical that even Leighton was too dumb to realize that they were improving things, and he just towed what he thought the company line was. It's like, no, there's no problem. So it's like, no, the company line's different now, Leighton. You're supposed to say we're fixing that.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's a process now. At least we have a process. I mean, at least, the members in theory will have an opportunity to comment.
Yeah, they will. I mean, that's how we wrote it. Hopefully they will. There's no things in there that say that, well, you could just vote on it to pass it early. There's no, I don't know, workarounds or anything that people can do about that. So,
but to your earlier bigger point, I agree with you. I think they should address these changes individually or piecemeal or by sections, because
then they might not all happen. Tyler.
Exactly. Well, I know why.
Yeah.
I know why. I'm agreeing with that that's how it should happen, because these things are so widely different. You've got some good stuff in there. You've got some not good stuff in there. If it is to be tailored to get the right result, to get the right situation, the right structure, wouldn't you want a more a scalpel instead of a sledgehammer?
I mean,
Yeah,
if you want to make wise changes, yes, you want a scalpel. If you want to like make sure, if you're Sherwin right now and you're gonna make sure that this shit happens, so your buddy Jake can't get fired by a potentially hostile president,
Yeah.
then you're
I
gonna
mean-
do it differently.
I mean, I know why Congress passes omnibus bills.
Yes. Well, USPSA is basically like a Congress.
We're
And here's a fun thought exercise for you, Tyler. If we had political parties, which party would they be, and which party would we be?
You know,
That's good.
that's something for the people out there to consider.
Yes. Yes, that would be
Yeah.
something to consider. I do have one question I want to put out there. How does this affect the club matches, guys? Because a lot of people listening, like, this seems.
I mean, on the very first thought of it, it probably does not affect club matches at all, right? If any one of us five are going to go shoot a match this weekend, does it affect that match at all?
No.
Not in short terms.
No. Yeah, you're right, Kim. Over the long, if you've been around for a while, like, I've seen a big change in the culture, the stages, and how USPSA is run in the last 5 years. It has not been positive. The board that we have has greenlit cheating. They've greenlit like shitty, lame stages, and they've made it harder to, maybe not, yeah, kind of like PCC is in some ways complicated designing interesting stages, just because you have like a competing, like you have different weapon, like types of guns fundamentally, so it's difficult to make stages that kind of are a good challenge for everybody. Like, and what I've seen as far as club matches on the ground now, pretty much what I see from most matches, it's like you keep the gun mounted, the targets are relatively close, and you slow walk through a stage, smashing targets while you keep your gun mounted. That's pretty much what USPSA has turned into in many respects. Like, for the most part, that's what I see. And it didn't used to be that way. It used to be more interesting. It used to be more dynamic in a lot of respects. There's been some positive stuff in the last few years. I'm not going to pretend there hasn't been. But like these changes take years to work themselves out. And it all kind of starts at the top and trickles down. And if we had management in there that was like making nationals the most interesting, the best run, the tightest, adherence to the rules and all that it could possibly be, and over the course of a few years, that kind of trickles out to other matches, because you have guys like, the most involved guys, like the Frank guys, like those guys go to nationals, they see what it is, and they bring that back to their club, whether they intend to or not. It's just the way things work, and that's why honestly, things have degenerated in many respects for the last few years, because from the top down, like, these guys don't give a fuck about like the sporting element of this. This is about, money, power, control. Like, I don't even understand what's motivating a lot of this. Like, from these guys, like, Matt, these guys aren't making money off this.
No one is.
It's money. It's power, control, like,
I think it's
ego
power
shit.
and the title, probably, to say that they're an area director.
They don't understand. No one gives a fuck about them. Like, here's a good example. So, like, of all the people running for president, there's quite a few of them. Steve Moneypenny's one of them. It's a guy that probably nobody's heard of. I've met him. I've shot with him. He's a fine guy. I don't have a beef with Steve. Do I think Steve is the man to battle the midwit cabal on behalf of the members? No, I do not. I don't think he's equipped to handle this stuff. But he's not a bad guy. Interestingly, I mean, he has like a Facebook page, Steve Moneypenny for USPSA president, and like 12 likes. It's not going anywhere. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just describing that, like, this campaign's dead in the water. But you have 3 former area directors fighting his cause for him, like Linda Chico, Kyle Ferris, and Chuck Anderson. They're all like in the tank for this guy. They're trying to make it happen to make this guy president. And I'm reading all this bullshit they're writing about it. It's like, no one gives a fuck about you guys.
When's the last time any of those 4 people have actually shot a USPSA match?
Well, there's that, but it's like no one cares what the area directors think, really. I mean, just by virtue of them being an area director, no one cares what they think. They're just in that job, and once they're out of that job, they're going to go back to being irrelevant. I don't think they really realize that, or maybe that is what they realize. I don't know.
We got 2 area elections next year, so.
We do, and Frank is running.
Yes, I am.
Frank in Area 7. Bill Goldbold is in Area 4.
Did he turn in his paperwork yet, or he?
Yeah, he's got it.
And he's that would be fun to have him on the board because he's an actual
Sure.
lawyer.
That would be awesome, actually.
Oh, they would love that. They're
Oh.
like, we need to talk to legal counsel about this. He'd be like, no, I am my legal counsel.
It'd be so good. It'd be so good.
That would make them nuts. I have one other thing to say, and maybe you guys want to chime in on this. I've been getting a lot of messages, a lot of support. People really appreciate what we're doing. They appreciate what I'm doing because I've been beating the shit out of these guys on the internet for the last few months. Obviously, I'm enjoying myself. And people are saying like, hey, yeah, like keep fighting for us. We want you to fix this. We can't fix this for you guys. They're like, we can't. Like, this is like, honestly, the members, you guys have to make some noise about this. You have to inform other people. This stuff is complicated. Like, I mean, the real issue we have here is like, if you're low information on this stuff, you're likely to just kind of be like, yeah, whatever the board's doing sounds good. The more information you have, the more you know, the longer you've been around, the more you dig into this stuff, the more you understand like, yeah, the board's not really looking out for me. So it's like informing people, letting them know what's going on, like that cannot be done just by us on the internet. Like, you're going to have to fight this cause as well if you think it's important. We can't fix it for you. And that's what we hear. I'm hearing a lot of that from the Area 3 people, Matt. They're like, hey, Matt's on the board, so we're good.
Yeah, I still want to hear comments, though. I still want to hear feedback.
Or how about this? Send it to the other area directors, too, to annoy them. Like, just because you live in Area 3 doesn't mean that you can't, like, give some pointed feedback to the other area directors. Why not?
That's good.
Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, I had one Area 3 member email in. They're like, of course you already know, but oppose this. I'm like, thank you for your feedback. We need to get at least comments still coming in. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing, and I'm coming from a perspective where I don't, in no way, shape, or form, do I feel like my interests are represented by my own area director.
I believe we could be more financially stable.
I don't want to slam Bruce. We're friendly when we see each other, but I have taken concerns of mine to him before. I know they weren't.
Oh, come on. Let's talk about the Facebook poll. Talk about the Facebook poll.
You want to take about the Facebook poll? So back when the production changes were happening, on the Area 6 unofficial Facebook page, the one with high volume traffic, one of the moderators put up a poll saying whether they supported the changes or not. And it was overwhelmingly, I think the ratio was 7-1 or 8-1 opposed. And Bruce was on there. Essentially, he alleged that the poll was tampered with, that the yeses were higher the day before. He got roasted pretty hard on that. But
what's amazing is the other, he actually voted no on those changes. You guys twisted his arm into being, I think, the one no vote. And I mean, it shouldn't shock me. It doesn't shock me anymore. But anyway, at the time it did. None of the other area directors took a cue from that. They weren't just like, hey, if all the Area 6 production shooters hate this, well, they probably don't like it in my area either. You know what I mean? I don't think, like, it's probably not all that geographically limited,
They heard from people in person and took that.
That was mentioned too. That was mentioned too, way back when. So that's a consistent theme. But yeah, I mean, it ought not be the case that I know that I'm going to have to go outside my area and contact Matt in order to have my interests represented, the way I would do it if I were sitting in the room. If someone asked me, hey, what's you feeling this? That's what a representative is for, is to represent, to state your argument for you. That's the definition. But it's sad that I would have to contact Matt in Area 3 to feel like anyone at all is making certain concerns and viewpoints heard on this board. That's why it's important that, this is not the real fight. Actually, it is important that you comment, you raise your voice, you get involved right now. The real fight will be the entire next cycle of area director elections.
100%.
We need new area directors in each area, with the exception of 3, period, the end.
Well, hold on. I said I want to keep Leighton on. He's super amusing.
Okay.
I mean, he's seriously funny. Like, that dude amuses the hell out of me. I love it. I shouldn't say that, but it's really true. All right. Anything else to say about this, guys, or should we call it? Fuck it. All right. Yeah, we're great. Email your area directors, guys. Was this a cracker of a podcast? I feel like it kind of was. Joel's going to approve. I can tell.